The morning sun filtered through our kitchen window as I watched Chelsea pour herself coffee, her silhouette backlit like some Renaissance painting. 6 years ago, standing at the altar beside that lake, I thought I was looking at my future. I thought I knew exactly what that future would hold. I'm Garrett Mitchell, 36, Senior Project Manager at Brennan and Associates Civil Engineering. $98,000 a year, steady work, the kind of career that builds something real. The kind of career that bought this house when I was 29. 4 bedrooms, 3 baths, hardwood floors throughout. Paid in cash after years of living like a monk, saving every penny, investing smart. Meeting Chelsea Ramsey was like stepping into a different world. I was at a charity fundraiser for the Children's Hospital, nursing a beer in the corner, when she walked up and asked if I was having as terrible a time as she was. That laugh, God, that laugh could light up a room. She was working as an administrative assistant at Morrison and Associates, one of the big law firms downtown. 28 years old, ambitious, talking about maybe going back to school for her paralegal certification. We were inseparable within weeks. Those first 2 years of marriage were exactly what I'd imagined. Partnership, building something together. Chelsea contributed her share those first 2 years. Her assistant job paid $38,000, and she was good with money. We'd split groceries, utilities, date nights. Everything felt balanced, equal, real. Then came the conversation that changed everything. "I'm burned out, Garrett," she said one evening. We were sitting on our back deck, sharing a bottle of wine after another long week. "I hate that place. The lawyers are condescending, the work is mindless, and I'm tired all the time." "What if I just took a break?" she continued, testing the waters. "Focused on us for a while? On the house? On building our life together?" I should have asked more questions. Should have pushed for timelines, plans, goals. Instead, I saw her tired eyes and thought this was what partnership meant. Carrying each other when one person needed support. "Of course," I replied without hesitation. "Whatever you need." That was 4 years ago. The next 4 years unfolded like a slow-motion movie I couldn't pause. Chelsea filled her days with yoga classes at the boutique studio downtown, long brunches with friends she'd met there, endless redecorating projects that never quite finished. I worked longer hours to compensate for her lost income, coming home tired but never complaining. Our routine became comfortable, predictable. Sunday mornings with coffee and crossword puzzles. Her curled against me during Netflix binges, laughing at my terrible puns about whatever show we were watching. From the outside, we probably looked perfect. Successful husband, beautiful wife, nice house, no kids yet, but maybe someday. But 3 months ago, something shifted. The changes were subtle at first, the kind of things you notice but dismiss because they seem too small to matter. Chelsea started guarding her phone. Not dramatically, she didn't clutch it or hide it, but she'd turn the screen away when I walked into a room. When texts came through during dinner, she'd glance at them and smile, but when I'd ask, "Who's that?" she'd respond vaguely with something like, "Just Jenna planning brunch," or "My yoga instructor about tomorrow's class." Why wouldn't I believe her? This was my wife. Trust was the foundation of everything we'd built. Then came the gym membership. "I want to try something new," she announced one Tuesday evening. "There's this amazing fitness center downtown, Apex Fitness. They have personal trainers, specialized classes, really cutting-edge equipment." I looked up the place later that night. $200 a month for a gym membership. I'd been working out at the YMCA for 15 years at $30 a month, but if Chelsea wanted something nicer, we could afford it. "Whatever makes you happy," I told her the next morning. 4 times a week became 5. 5 became 6. She'd leave at 9 in the morning and come home at 2 in the afternoon. "I stayed for an extra class," she'd explain, cheeks flushed, hair damp with sweat. "Then grabbed a smoothie with some of the girls." Every explanation made sense individually, but collectively, something felt wrong. My engineering brain, trained to spot patterns, to notice when numbers didn't add up, started cataloging inconsistencies I couldn't ignore. Chelsea had always been social media obsessed, posting yoga poses and brunch photos constantly. Suddenly, her Instagram went quiet. No gym selfies, no group photos with these new friends. When I asked about it, she shrugged. "I'm trying to be more present," she explained, "less focused on documenting everything." The phone calls started 3 weeks later. Late at night after I'd gone to bed, I'd hear her voice through the bathroom door, low and animated. When I'd ask about them the next morning, she'd explain matter-of-factly that she'd been talking to her sister about family drama. Last night, I lay in bed watching Chelsea beside me, her face illuminated by her phone screen in the dark. She was smiling at someone, with an expression I hadn't seen in months. Not the polite smile she gave me when I told my awful jokes. This was different, intimate, private. For the first time in 6 years of marriage, I felt like a stranger in my own bed. She typed something, hit send, and immediately received a response that made her smile even wider. This conversation had rhythm, history, familiarity. When Chelsea finally put her phone down and settled into sleep, I stared at the ceiling for hours. My logical brain fought with my suspicious one, but the patterns were undeniable. The late gym sessions, the secret phone calls, the constant texting, the social media silence. I told myself I was being paranoid. But lying there in the dark, listening to my wife breathe beside me while my mind cataloged all the ways she'd changed, I made a decision that would alter everything. Tomorrow, during my lunch break, I was going to check our phone records, just once, just to prove to myself that I was being crazy, that there was nothing to worry about. I had no idea that within 48 hours, I'd be hiring a private investigator to follow my wife. The next day dragged by in slow motion. By lunch break, my hands were actually shaking as I sat in my truck in the parking lot, laptop balanced on my steering wheel, logging into our Verizon account. I pulled up the last 3 months of records, scanned through the endless list of numbers, my calls to work contacts, Chelsea's occasional calls to her sister, routine stuff that meant nothing. Then I saw it. One number appeared over and over. Dozens of calls, hundreds of texts. I scrolled down, following the pattern, my stomach dropping with each entry. The first call was 3 months ago, exactly when Chelsea's behavior started changing. Since then, this mystery number had become a constant presence in our phone records. Calls at 11 p.m. after I went to bed. Texts at 6 a.m. before I woke up. Conversations during her gym sessions that lasted 40 minutes. I counted the entries, my engineering brain needing precise data. In the last 30 days alone, 47 phone calls, averaging 18 minutes each. 234 text messages. The communication was daily, consistent, intimate. My hands weren't shaking anymore. They were steady as I copied the number into my personal phone and walked to the far corner of the parking lot. I used a burner app to mask my caller ID and dialed. It rang twice before a man answered. His voice was casual, confident, with the kind of easy charm that probably worked well on married women. "Hello?" he said. I hung up immediately, heart pounding so hard I could hear it. A man. Of course it was a man. The next 24 hours were the longest of my life. I went through all the motions, finished work, drove home, kissed Chelsea hello like nothing had changed. She asked about my day with the same distracted interest she always showed, scrolling through her phone while I answered. "How was the gym?" I asked, testing. "Good," she replied without looking up. "New instructor today. Really pushed us hard." The lie came so easily, so naturally, like she'd been practicing. The next morning, I called Victor Santos. My colleague Jake had used Victor during his divorce 2 years ago. "Best PI in the city," Jake had said. Victor's office was in a nondescript building downtown. He was younger than I'd expected, maybe 40, lean, with the quiet intensity of someone who'd spent years watching people's secrets unfold. "I need surveillance on my wife," I said after the preliminaries. I think she's cheating. Victor asked practical questions. How long had I suspected? What evidence did I have? His tone was professional, matter of fact. I showed him the phone records on my laptop. Victor studied them without expression, occasionally making notes. This is pretty clear-cut, he said finally. The pattern is textbook. Victor quoted his rates. Expensive, but not prohibitively so. I'll need 2 weeks minimum, he explained. Full surveillance during her stated gym schedule, photo documentation, video if possible, complete report. And if you don't find anything? I asked. Then you'll know she's faithful, and you can work on whatever's causing your suspicion, he replied. But Mr. Mitchell, in 20 years of doing this job, when the phone records look like this, I always find something. I wrote the retainer check on the spot. The next 2 weeks were psychological torture. Every morning I kissed Chelsea goodbye, knowing that somewhere in the city, Victor was watching her, documenting her movements, photographing whatever she was really doing during those long gym sessions. I noticed things I'd missed before. New lingerie in her dresser, expensive pieces I'd never seen her wear for me, a different perfume, something spicier and more exotic than her usual scent, the way she'd check her phone the moment I left any room. On day 10, Victor called. We need to meet, he said, in person. The coffee shop was across town. Victor was already at a corner table when I arrived, a thick manila folder beside his laptop. Your instincts were right, he said without preamble. He slid the folder across the table. Your wife is having an affair. My hands were steady as I opened the folder. The first photograph stopped my heart. Chelsea holding hands with a man outside Apex Fitness. He was everything I wasn't. Tall, muscular, arrogant smile. The second photo showed them kissing in a parking lot. Not a friendly peck. A deep, passionate kiss between people who'd been doing this for a while. The third. Entering the Windsor Inn together. Time stamped 4 days ago at 11:47 a.m. Who is he? I managed to ask. Owen Drake, 38, personal trainer at Apex, Victor answered. This isn't his first time with a married client. He's seduced at least 3 other married women in the last 2 years. Victor opened a file on his laptop. There's more, he continued. Hotel hallway security footage, and the door to his room was cracked open during one of their visits. My camera caught everything. He slid a USB drive across the table. Fair warning, this isn't easy to watch, he warned, but it's undeniable evidence if you need it. I stared at the USB drive like it contained a bomb. In a way, it did. The bomb that would destroy my marriage, my trust, my entire understanding of the woman I'd lived with for 6 years. Take your time processing this, Victor said, standing. Call me when you're ready to discuss next steps. Document everything. If this goes to divorce court, you want to be the one holding all the cards. I sat alone in that coffee shop for over an hour after Victor left, the folder and USB drive in front of me. Around me, life continued normally while mine came to a complete stop. Finally, I gathered everything and walked to my truck. The drive home felt surreal. Our house looked the same. Neat lawn, flower beds Chelsea had planted last spring. The life we'd built together sitting there unchanged. But everything had changed. Chelsea's car wasn't in the driveway, at the gym, according to her schedule, or maybe at a hotel with Owen. I walked into our house, my house, I corrected myself, and sat at the kitchen table with the folder spread in front of me. Photo after photo of my wife with another man, living a completely separate life I'd known nothing about. The USB drive sat there untouched. I knew what it contained. Part of me needed to see it, needed to know exactly what I was dealing with. I plugged the drive into my laptop. The video file was 3 minutes and 47 seconds long. Hotel hallway timestamp showed last Tuesday, 1:23 p.m., while I'd been in a project meeting downtown. I watched it once. Just once. And in those 3 minutes and 47 seconds, I watched 6 years of marriage burn to ashes. But I didn't cry. I didn't break. Instead, I picked up the phone and called Victor back with one simple instruction. Document everything, because I'm about to destroy her. The hotel footage was crystal clear. HD quality, perfect audio, time-stamped evidence that would hold up in any court. I watched my wife of 6 years moving on top of another man with enthusiasm she hadn't shown me in months. Her laughter echoed from my laptop speakers, the same laugh that used to make me feel like the luckiest man alive. What struck me wasn't the explicit nature of what I was watching. It was Chelsea's complete comfort. This wasn't a moment of weakness or a one-time mistake. This was routine. Practiced. The audio was the worst part. Not the sounds of intimacy, but the conversation afterward. He has no idea. Chelsea's voice was breathless and satisfied. He works so much, he barely notices when I'm gone. Owen's laugh in response. When are you going to leave him? Soon, she replied confidently. I'm already talking to a lawyer about what I'm entitled to. The house alone is worth $380, plus his retirement accounts, savings. I should walk away with at least $200,000. What if he fights it? Owen asked. He won't, Chelsea answered with disturbing certainty. Garrett's too nice, too trusting. He'll probably blame himself and give me whatever I ask for just to avoid conflict. My hands had stopped shaking by then. The initial wave of nausea had passed, replaced by something much colder. My engineer's mind took over, processing this as a problem with variables that needed solving. I closed the laptop and called Victor immediately. I need everything compiled into a professional report, I told him. Multiple copies, court-ready documentation with photos, timeline, financial evidence, everything. Next, I called Laura Brennan, the attorney Jake had recommended. Laura listened to the entire story without interruption, asking pointed questions about assets and finances. You own the house outright? Bought before marriage? She inquired. Yes, 7 years ago, I confirmed. Savings accounts? Separate, I answered. She has access to joint checking for household expenses, but my investment accounts and retirement funds are in my name only. Excellent, Laura responded with satisfaction. And you have documented proof of the affair? Video evidence, photos, phone records, hotel receipts charged to our joint credit card. This is about as clean as these cases get, Laura said, her satisfaction audible through the phone. Send me everything your PI compiled. I emailed the files immediately. Laura called back within 2 hours. This evidence is airtight, she declared. But here's my advice. Don't confront her yet. Let her make the first move. People in her position often overplay their hand when they think they're in control. For the next 2 weeks, I lived a double life. Days at work proceeded normally, but evenings at home became elaborate theater performances. I'd kiss Chelsea when I came through the door, ask about her day, listen to her lies with complete composure. She'd tell me about yoga classes that didn't exist and friends I'd never met. How was the gym today? I'd ask, making it my daily test question. Brutal, she'd respond with practiced ease. Owen, that's the new trainer I mentioned, had us doing these insane circuit workouts. She'd rub her shoulder for effect. But it feels great to push myself, you know? Owen. She'd started mentioning him by name, testing how I'd react to hearing about the man she was sleeping with. When I'd nod and say something supportive, she'd smile with what I now recognized as contempt. During this period, I was systematically securing my financial position, making copies of bank statements, retirement account summaries, tax returns, changing passwords on my personal accounts. The psychological warfare was the hardest part, sitting beside someone every night who was actively plotting your destruction while pretending to love you. 3 weeks after hiring Victor, the moment I'd been waiting for finally arrived. I was working late on a laptop in our living room when Chelsea came home from another extended gym session. Her hair was damp, her cheeks flushed. But tonight was different. Her eyes were red and swollen. Her makeup was smudged like she'd been crying. We need to talk, she announced, her voice trembling with what I now recognized as rehearsed emotion. I looked up from my laptop with perfect confusion. About what? I asked innocently. "I know you've been cheating on me," she declared. The accusation hung in the air between us like a challenge. I let surprise and hurt cross my face while my mind raced through her strategy. Classic Darvo: deny, attack, reverse victim and offender. Frame the betrayed spouse as the betrayer to justify your own actions. "Excuse me?" I responded, feigning shock. "Don't lie to me, Garrett," she continued, building momentum. "I've seen the signs. The late nights at work. The way you've been distant lately." Her voice gained strength as she built her case. "I know you're sleeping with someone." "You think I'm having an affair?" I asked with perfect bewilderment. "I don't think it. I know it," she shot back, crossing her arms with righteous anger replacing fake tears. "And I'm done. I want a divorce." I paused, letting the silence stretch. This was it, the moment she'd been building toward for months. "Okay," I said calmly. She blinked, clearly thrown off her script. "Okay?" she repeated, confused. "If that's what you want, then yes. Let's get divorced," I replied with unsettling composure. She'd expected denial, pleading, bargaining. Instead, I was giving her nothing. "Good," she recovered, though confusion flickered across her face. "My lawyer will be in touch with yours about the settlement." "What settlement?" I asked with genuine curiosity. "Half of everything, Garrett," she declared triumphantly. "The house, your savings, your retirement accounts. You destroyed this marriage with your cheating, and I'm entitled to compensation." She grabbed her purse, her movements sharp with triumph. "I'll be staying at Jenna's tonight," she announced. "Give you time to think about what you've done." The door slammed behind her. I sat in the sudden quiet of our house, my house, and smiled for the first time in weeks. She'd done exactly what Laura predicted: overplayed her hand, revealed her strategy, positioned herself as the victim while demanding a massive payout for a marriage she'd already destroyed. I made 2 phone calls. First, Victor. "Send me every piece of evidence," I instructed. 10 copies of everything, professionally bound. Second, Laura. "Chelsea just accused me of adultery and demanded half my assets in a divorce settlement," I reported. "While she's the one committing adultery?" Laura asked for confirmation. "While she's been sleeping with her personal trainer for 3 months and charging hotel rooms to our joint credit card," I answered. "Perfect," Laura replied with palpable satisfaction. "She just committed strategic suicide." 3 days later, my phone buzzed with a text from Tyler, Chelsea's younger brother. "We're coming over tonight, 7 p.m. You better have answers." I smiled and texted back, "Come on over." Then I set up my laptop, printed Victor's complete report, and put a 6-pack of beer in the fridge. It was time to burn Chelsea's world to the ground. At 6:55 p.m., I watched headlights sweep across my living room window. Dennis's pickup truck, I'd recognize that rusted Ford anywhere. Through the windshield, I could see 4 silhouettes: Dennis, Karen, Tyler, and Chelsea herself. I'd spent the afternoon preparing with methodical precision. 10 copies of Victor's complete report sat on my coffee table, each one professionally bound. My laptop was open, USB drive inserted, hotel surveillance video queued to the most damning moment. 6 beers chilled in the refrigerator. Not for them, but for me. This was my show now. The pounding on my door came at exactly 7 p.m. I took my time answering. They pushed past me the moment I opened the door, Dennis first with his retired cop authority, Karen wringing her hands behind him, Tyler red-faced and aggressive, and Chelsea trailing last with that victimized expression she'd been practicing. "You son of a bitch," Tyler spat, getting in my face immediately. "You cheated on my sister." I looked at him calmly. "Sit down," I commanded. "Don't tell me to—" He started to protest. "Sit down," I repeated with absolute authority. Something in my tone, the complete lack of fear, made them all pause. They arranged themselves like a tribunal. Dennis took the armchair, positioning himself as the family patriarch. Karen perched nervously on the couch beside Tyler. Chelsea remained standing in the corner, arms crossed, wearing that smug expression of someone who thought they'd already won. I walked to the coffee table and picked up the stack of reports. Professional. Thorough. Damning. "Before we talk," I announced, "I want you all to read something." I moved around the room methodically, handing each person their copy. Dennis opened his immediately. 25 years as a cop had trained him to evaluate evidence quickly. His face changed in real time as he scanned the first page. Karen's hand flew to her mouth at the first image, her daughter holding hands with another man. Tyler flipped through faster, his righteous anger draining from red to pale white. "What the hell is this?" he demanded. "That," I said with surgical calm, "is a private investigator's report documenting your daughter's 3-month affair with her personal trainer, Owen Drake." "You're lying." Chelsea started from her corner. "Shut up, Chelsea," I said coldly, not even looking at her. I turned to my laptop and pressed play. The hotel surveillance footage filled my 55-inch TV screen. Crystal clear resolution, perfect audio, time-stamped evidence that couldn't be disputed. First, Chelsea and Owen entering the Windsor Inn together, his hand on her lower back, both of them laughing. Then, hallway security camera showing them kissing against room 304's door. Then, the interior footage from Victor's camera. Chelsea naked, moving on top of Owen with enthusiasm she hadn't shown me in years. Her voice clear through my speakers. "He has no idea. He works so much he barely notices I'm gone." "Oh my God!" Karen gasped, covering her eyes. "Turn it off," Dennis commanded, his voice shaking. "Not yet," I replied, my voice remaining surgical and cold. The video continued, audio clear enough to capture every damning word. "When are you leaving him?" Owen asked. "Soon," Chelsea answered confidently. "I'll take half of everything. That house alone is worth $380, plus his retirement, his savings. I should walk away with at least 200 grand. "What if he fights it?" Owen pressed. Chelsea laughed. "He won't. Garrett's too nice. He'll probably blame himself and give me whatever I ask for." "Jesus Christ, Chelsea!" Tyler exclaimed, standing up abruptly. I paused the video, freeze-framing on Chelsea's face mid-laugh, completely relaxed and confident in her betrayal. The room was silent except for Karen's quiet sobbing. I walked slowly toward Chelsea, who had pressed herself against the wall, tears streaming down her face. Not tears of remorse, tears of being caught. "Are you sure," I whispered, "that you want to take half my assets?" She slid down the wall, collapsing onto the floor. "Please, Garrett," she begged. "Turn it off. I can explain." "Explain what?" I asked, turning to face her family. "She came to me 3 days ago, accused me of cheating, demanded divorce and half of everything I own. She tried to frame me to justify stealing my money. But I've known for weeks, had her followed, documented. Everything you just saw is time-stamped, legally obtained evidence." I walked to the refrigerator and pulled out a beer. The bottle opener's pop echoed in the silence. I took a long drink, the picture of calm control while Chelsea sobbed. Karen stood first. She walked over to her daughter. For a moment, it looked like maternal comfort. Then, crack! The slap echoed through the room like a gunshot. Chelsea's head snapped to the side. "How could you?" Karen cried, her voice breaking. "How could you do this to him? To us?" Dennis rose next. He looked down at Chelsea with complete disgust. Crack! His slap was harder than Karen's. Chelsea sprawled sideways. 34 years, Dennis said, his voice flat and dead. 34 years I thought you were the best thing I ever did. I was wrong. Tyler just shook his head. "You're pathetic, Chelsea," he said with disgust. "He f***ing loved you." I took another drink. "Owen Drake has done this before," I informed them. "At least 3 other married clients. Your daughter was just another conquest." Dennis turned to me. "Why are you showing us this?" he asked. "Because she came to you first," I answered. "Lied to you. Made you think I was the villain. I wanted you to know exactly who your daughter is. what she tried to do. "I can't. I need to get out of here," Tyler muttered, moving toward the door. Karen followed, still crying. Dennis stopped at the door, turned back to Chelsea. "Don't come home," he declared. "You're not welcome." The door closed behind them. Chelsea looked up at me through swollen eyes. "Please, Garrett," she pleaded. "We can work through this." "Sign the divorce papers, Chelsea," I said, finishing my beer. "My lawyer will send them tomorrow. You have 30 days. Fight it, and I release this video publicly. Your choice." She stumbled to her feet, trying to move toward me. I stepped back. "Get out of my house," I commanded. Chelsea left, broken, destroyed. The house was finally quiet. Finally mine again. 3 months later, I stood in my new downtown condo, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city lights, a beer in my hand, and the signed divorce decree on my coffee table. Final. Complete. Chelsea received exactly nothing in the settlement. No house equity, no savings, no alimony. The affair evidence had been so overwhelming that even a sympathetic judge couldn't have awarded her anything substantial. She'd signed within 72 hours of that family confrontation. Smart choice, considering the alternative was public humiliation. The house sold faster than expected. I kept the profit, every penny, bought this condo in cash and banked the rest. Starting over at 36 with zero debt and complete financial freedom was liberating. Chelsea moved into a studio apartment across town, 600 square feet, questionable plumbing. She got a job waitressing at a chain restaurant, the first real work she'd done in 4 years. Owen ghosted her the moment Victor showed up at Apex Fitness for a friendly conversation about professional boundaries. Chelsea went from conquest to liability overnight. Dennis and Karen haven't spoken to their daughter since that night. Tyler blocked her number. Her social circle evaporated once word spread about the affair. My dating life started slowly. Coffee dates, casual dinners, nothing serious. I wasn't ready for commitment, might never be again, and I was honest about that up front. Work became more satisfying than ever. Got promoted to senior project manager with a substantial raise. My colleagues knew I'd gotten divorced, but nobody asked for details. Some evenings, standing at these windows with a beer, watching traffic flow through the city below, I think about that night 3 months ago. 4 people had entered my house believing they knew the truth about me. 4 people had left knowing the truth about Chelsea. I don't think about my ex-wife often anymore. When I do, it's not with anger, just clarity. The recognition that some people are exactly who they show you to be when they think nobody's watching. I protected myself, documented everything, planned carefully, and when someone tried to destroy me, I made sure the truth came out first. Justice isn't always loud or dramatic. Sometimes it's just a video, a slap, and a cold beer. Sometimes it's knowing you did everything right when someone else did everything wrong. I'm living proof of that.